Hello and welcome to our today's Coffee and Consulting from Convenus to the topic the Expat cycle, preparing for success and exploring how thorough preparation and planning triggers a more successful outcome of international assignments. A very long title, but welcome to our today's Coffee and Consulting. My name is Friederike Ruch and I am the host of the today's Coffee and Consulting. We will go through the preparation of the expat cycle, and I would like to show you how best you can prepare from a best practice point of view from the daily work, from our daily work. But before we start, I have two or three administrative things. One is you are all unmute, so you will not be able to ask any questions. However, if you do have any questions, then please use the chat box or question box to write them down. You can do that while the presentation is ongoing, and I'm happy then to respond to that thereafter. If we still have time, we will do it while just after the presentation slides. Otherwise, I will get back to you by email. Also, the slides you can download during the presentation, and in case you would like to listen again to it, you will find the recording on our YouTube channel, most likely starting sometime this afternoon or at latest tomorrow morning. Then I think we should actually also get started because we do have a lot of stuff to discuss in that regard. And I would like to start a bit with why companies still do international assignments, what the purpose is, so that we are all kind of on the same page, as well as then go really through the different parts and show you from the different angles, from the company point of view or employer point of view, as well as from the employee point of view, what is important to look at and how to best try to manage it. I still believe that international assignments can be very, very useful and helpful for companies, as well as can support and in regards to knowledge transfer, leadership development, also be quite helpful for market expansion, as well as really skills and functions you need in one location you maybe have not there. You can get them from a different location, usually only for a limited period of time. So international assignments are usually for a certain time frame, not for an unlimited period. So still there is an end, there is a starting point as well as an end of it. I think looking at today's situation and the situation that there is a skill or there is a lack of skills and certain functions, global mobility or international assignments can actually be an answer to that. And therefore, I think it's also a chance for global mobility or international assignment functions to show what they can actually do and add and bring to the table to for the firm to become more successful and filling out or filling up the needs there are. There's still a huge failure statistic. Now, here's a number which you maybe find usually everywhere in all these different surveys. Whether that is now the right number in your firm is a different topic. And maybe that's also something you should do that after the assignment had terminated or is ended, check with the employee how the assignment was, and then also maybe check a year later whether the assignee or the employee then is still with the firm, and check as well what is in the eyes of the assignee was what was went perfect, what went okay, as well as maybe what actually did not really work well or was lacking on the one or the other end. Usually, if you look at the stories, then you will see that you come most likely also in your cases to the conclusion that with a better preparation, maybe the assignment would have not failed and maybe went better as intended. And therefore, I think when we were thinking about what we would do today, we thought that might be something which might be also helpful for your organization. If we look at the expat life cycle through the eyes from the company, then definitely we would look, in the first step, thinking about who actually do we select as an expat or an assignee. And we would look at cross-cultural suitability, meaning whether is the employee actually able to go to the different country. Are there enough his technical ability, whether that meets what the requirements are from a cultural perspective? Is that something which would fit, or is the employee maybe or the expat maybe not the right fit for the destination? And then look at the impact on the assignment. What can the expat actually bring to the table? And then see about the preparation, the assignment itself, and then also the repatriation. And we will go later through each of those three phases in more detail. Key message is success is determined before the assignment even begins. That means that with the selection of the right expat, you also will actually have the first part of the whole expat life cycle successfully managed. Now, also, we understand that sometimes you don't have 20 expats or 20 possible candidates to be the expat and who you can send to that specific location. Sometimes you are in the you have just a pool of 2 or 3 people, or maybe even one, and then you just need to kind of manage it and make it happen. And sometimes you not always can say to all the different skills, yes, the expat has everything you need. Sometimes you just need to kind of make a pragmatic way to go through it. If we look at the expat's life cycle through the eyes of the expat, then clearly during the assignment, they are, and I'm sure you have seen that kind of wave as well. In the beginning, they are really like to go abroad, they are happy and looking forward for the challenge. Then there is that honeymoon phase where life is fantastic. The other country, everything is perfect, better than whatever they thought they had before. And then at some point, then it goes down and it's kind of, oh my goodness, what have I done? Why am I now here? Maybe also that's then the period where family is not very happy. School maybe for the kids is not working as it should, or kids have kind of a bit of difficulties, missing their friends, missing the old life. And if then at one point you everybody will go through that, has kind of the deepest point. It always then go also up again. Employees, after they had the feeling, I really want to go home, they get better, and then thinking, yes, it's actually a great way. It's then when they adapt to the challenges or to the new country, and then at some point it actually has to go back. And then after the repatriations, or after they came back to their home country, actually that whole life cycle, kind of, we have seen here now for the assignment, starts anew. And it is quite important also that you will then get the, or check in with the expat a bit more often than you would usually do, just in order to give him the feeling it was quite important. He is quite important for the firm until he again is then in the adaptation phase. Because when they return, the expats, they go, as said, go through the same thing. And where we here have the deepest point where I want to go home is indicated, they have the feeling then I want to leave the firm. And sometimes that's also then the time point where the expat then actually will leave the firm, which is not the best thing, because then in the end, all the investment you put into the employee is getting lost. The core idea is, as I indicated already, preparation is the biggest predictor for success. And the candidate selection is something which usually firms always go only for the technical part, but the other parts, like the cultural intelligence or cultural adaptation for different countries, the adaptability, that is also quite important. And also the way of whether the expat is open-minded, also the family, if the family will accompany him, which is important to give or get better and quicker integrated. Cross-cultural training, often companies say that is not important, because as long as the candidate as well as the family speak the language, then there is no problem at all. Or in case they speak very well English, the idea is there should be no problem. But from my perspective, it is the higher someone is also in the hierarchy, the more important it is also to get that cross-cultural training. Because if the expert should manage or lead a team, then he should also understand the way he is talking, the way he is directing or giving instructions, whether that will be perceived from the employees in that other country the same way as he intended, or whether there is maybe a miscommunication with that. And that is quite important, because quite quickly that can get to the wrong result. What we also seen from the practice is the sooner you take the family, in case the family will accompany your expat, you will bring them on board. You maybe have a meeting, not just with the candidate, but with the family as well. That will involve the family. The family is then has the view of, it's not just my partner or my spouse is going, but we are heard as well. And you can, with very small things, you can make it much easier for the family, and just listening to the needs and what what is important for the family, and then guide accordingly. The integration in the host location then is also something which sometimes will be not really put the importance to it as it should be, because as soon as the spouse and the kids feel integrated, find new friends, find new colleagues or persons they can talk to, or stuff they can do, the better it is, because then they are not focused clearly completely only on your expat. They then start their own life, and then it's also getting much easier for the whole family. And then the practical preparation, which we will talk in a second as well. I said assignments are complex, and that is kind of the cycle, looking now through the different angles, with finding the suitable housing in the host location, navigating through all the legal stuff, the local bureaucracy like registration and stuff like this, and then the integrating into the new culture and community, as well as the finding of school, childcare, and whatever family requirements. So the assignment, looking now again from the eyes of the employee, is quite complex, and there are so many different things to look at. Before we go to the preparation part, if we look at the satisfaction of the employee, then here you can see where the employee is the most happy or satisfied, and that is in the beginning, in the first 1 to 3 months about, and then again in after the 10th month. So you see in between there's a period where usually the expat is not that happy and satisfied, and that's where you maybe as an employer can kind of step in and try to get the curve not to that low point where we have here. And that should show you what I said earlier. It's not just looking at the assignment period itself. You also need then to look at the time once he is back home, because that is as important as the first part, the assignment part. Because if you don't look at that, where we see here the reverse culture shock point, that is where usually then employees kind of check out of their current employment and try and see to find maybe a new perspective for their life, for the work life, and finding also or open then for new employers. And what you want to do is you will try to keep the employee, because you invested that much during the assignment. So you rather would like to keep him. And there again, it would be that you as a company, as an employer, would need to step in and try to guide the employee and try to show as well how important it was, the assignment, how important the employee is, as well as give them again a new perspective for his future employment. With keeping that in mind, the different phases expats go through, there is a lot of things you need to do, and the indication above of these periods we say, or phases we have determined, would be now a kind of best case scenario. We definitely know that in practice, you usually don't have 12 months before the assignment starts where you can start with the planning. Sometimes, yes, but it is very rarely we see that companies have a 12 months period before they, when they really plan assignments. Nevertheless, it would be good to maybe try to work into that direction and to see what actually works for your firm the best way. The phase itself, that the strategic planning phase, needs to be there. And in that phase, you should basically define what the business is needing. What kind of assignment do you need? Is it a long term, a short term? Is it maybe also something where can be covered with just business travels? So checking in what is the need of the business, and then seeing on the other hand what kind of tools or assignment types you have available, which might be helpful. Then the second part would be to look at the candidates, the employees, which ones would be actually the right ones, looking at the different criterias you need, the host location, maybe also you see then from a nationality point of view from your candidates, maybe the one or the other might be a better fit for it, and then make assessments about it, have some interviews with the candidates and see whether they would be available, open for it, or maybe also in the end there would be something where the candidate you think would be fitting the best will say no. So you still have to have a couple of other candidates in your backhand. We also seen that it works quite well as soon as those positions in the country abroad are open. If you publish them on your intranet, and then also other people you maybe have not thought in the beginning for it are able to apply for, and then you can check on them as well. In the strategic planning phase, you should also do a first cost estimation. So once you've selected then the right candidate, run a calculation of the total assignment cost, and then as well get the approval for it. If the business is seeing then the cost itself, it will be more than a local hire. However, it will also be something which might be helpful for the firm itself. I think it is worthwhile doing it because then also the business thinks more about who they send abroad as well as what they will do once the assignment ends. Because otherwise, you just send people abroad, you don't care about the cost, and then also the involvement from the business is sometimes less. After the strategic planning phase, then you need to prepare the preparation phase, and that is the one which is, from the operational point of view, quite an intensive phase. Usually it is about 3 to 6 months before assignment. Sometimes you have a bit less time for it. One thing, and that is the most important thing, because you still need to convince then the candidate you selected that he or she definitely will go. So you need to make a good assignment package, define the compensation, make decisions on what kind of benefits allowances you would like to pay or you are intended to pay. Keep in mind that you look at the other assignees or expats you have as well and see that everybody is treated the same way. Then look at the legal and immigration part. So you would need to do is then also draft the assignment letter, provide that to the employee so that he can have a look at it as well. Check on the labor law regulations in the host legal entity and make sure you've considered everything. And then also starting from an immigration perspective, see to apply for the work permit, visa, whatever is required for it. The tax planning and social security is something which is also a key part because it also has a huge implication then in the assignment package design. Tax planning is definitely quite important to also make sure you know exactly what will, or not exactly, but trying to, as exact as possible, trying to get an understanding on what the tax position would be, whether the employee would get subject to taxation in the host legal and in the host and in the host location, or whether he just remains subject to taxation in his home location. Checking on the tax equalization policy, defining it, defining with the employee what his part would be. And then from a social security point of view, see and try to keep him in the home social security system um, whenever possible or as long as possible. Or in case you decide against it, then make sure the employee understand the consequences as well as the insurance coverage. Request the A1 COC, checking also on health insurance because that is something which is also quite important. And then looking at the relocation part, family support, so checking on moving companies for the employee or engaging them, engaging someone who is doing the home search in the host location, checking on the housing in the home location, what happens there, so that host and home is meeting up. School search in case kids will go as well, and then prepare. And whenever there is maybe some language training, technical training, cross-cultural training, that will take place in that preparation phase as well. So you see there are lots of steps to be taken care and lots of things you need to consider. After the preparation phase, it is then going um, to the assignment. So 1 month before the assignment, you will then look at the starting phase, documentation, whether everything is ready, the logistics, whether everything is fine, and as well as briefing the employee, getting emergency contacts, local HR contacts, the assignment objectives ready and understood from everybody. So that is the part where it's really then going to the starting point for the assignment. It's the final check, and to see that everything is ready and the assignment can start as it was planned. And then the assignment phase is coming. So there you still, as from the HR or from the home location, you still need to have or provide the employee ongoing support, as well as try to find someone from the host location as well, which might be a kind of a mentorship, or as well someone from the HR who will take care and be a contact person for the employee in case there is anything he needs. The assignment phase will start with the onboarding in the host country. So local registration, bank account, workplace, then the whole payroll and compensation management. Make sure to have the setup and both payrolls aligned with each other. See that the employee knows exactly what he will receive, from whom he will receive some pay slips, who will contact whom, so that everything will going smoothly. Performance management is also quite important and key. Make sure that the the business from host and home location, as well as HR knows exactly what the goals are, as well as the expert clearly um, where he is maybe already meeting goals. Checking in with the employee is really something which is key. In regard to compliance and administration, which is maybe more than an HR part, to track the visa dates, see when it expires, and then make sure to get it started as early as possible. Ensure that the tax filings will be done as well as in the home and host location, and any other legal requirements you also need to make sure to take place. We just had a case in the US where the employee actually did not do or did not change his driving license to the US one. And once we found out he was already for a couple of months there, we understood that actually he cannot just get it exchanged. He has to do a theoretical test as well as a practical one to get the driving license exchanged. If we would have known that a little earlier, then we would have told him from the beginning that that is something he needs to do. Now, these things you also maybe want to take up and think about. And that is meant with monitor legal requirements. And then I said to make sure the employee is well and everything is fine, just to check in, have one person who checks in on a kind of regular basis. That is quite helpful for the employee and the employee, as well as for then also getting the results you like. And then again, there would be a kind of a strategic planning phase again, 6 months before the return. You should look at the career planning, should look at knowledge transfer in host and home country, and then as well the logistics about the planning of the return, the ending of housing contracts, the housing in the home location, to look at the moving and stuff like that. But from an employer perspective, you also should look at what is the role actually you would select for him once he returns. Um, Make sure he understands the expectations as well as all the involved parties. Maybe it would be also quite useful to have the employee then checking in with his later on team or a new superior to make sure he knows exactly where to go to, and then it's a kind of an easier landing for the employee as well. And last part is then the return and the reintegration phase, which is about then the first 2 3 months after the return. So the re-onboarding, compensation adjustment, making sure that everything goes smoothly and the employee understands it. Performance and feedback. I think that is quite important also to see what I said earlier, what went well and where maybe you need to adjust the one or the other thing. Have to focus on the retention, and as well as then check on the assignment cost, whether what you in the beginning had projected that would be the costs, whether that is really true, where maybe there are some gaps or differences. And as well, think about how you maybe can calculate also and return on investment. So also thinking about what the employee learned and got on knowledge and more skills, as well as then what he can then bring to the table after his return. And maybe also seeing that he can get promoted or can get with a job with more qualifications. And that is maybe also something you need to keep in mind when you send somebody abroad, that you set the expectations. And I think managing expectations is something which is also quite key during the whole assignment period. Looking at all these different phases and different steps, looking at our daily business, I think the struggle the expat or assignees have during the cultural shock phase is massive. And if you as an employer can get a regular check-in with the expat, that would kind of soften it a bit. And the assignee or expat will then not fall that deeply. So communication and expectation, I would say, is in addition to the whole organization and all the practical stuff, is really the key part. If we look at the success metrics, then that is maybe something you definitely should also look at to see what you can get out of the feedbacks from the employee, from the family, looking at all the different aspects as well, to make sure that for the future you are much better prepared. You can learn the one or the other thing and make adjustments wherever needed. Sometimes it's also that you have to say, okay, we can't adjust that, but what we could do is, for the next assignment or for the next expat, we actually make sure he understands that maybe better, so that there is not a dissatisfaction at the end. And what can HR do that the international assignment is successful? I think, as said just earlier, it is the continuous support, as well as really making sure you prepare very well, and managing the expectation. And the last sentence here on that slide, that global mobility is not just moving people, it's managing risk, performance, and a long-term talent value is, I think, key. And if you keep that in mind, that yes, it is quite intensive. And when we look at the different phases, the one phase might be more intense as the other, but there is a value which you bring with that to the firm, and the better you prepare, the more successful the assignment is, and the more successful and happy the expat is. And that also turns into a great return on investment. If you maybe use that or maybe kind of look at what you do, and maybe the one or the other thing you can add on in your practice, then I hope that was quite helpful for you, for all of you. As said, if you have any questions to that, then we are happy to answer them. And as well, you can listen to the recording later on YouTube. Before I now close the today Coffee and Consulting, I would like to just draw your attention to our Swiss Global Mobility Conference, which is in June, and we are very much looking forward to it. Here you see on the slide already some of the speakers. So we would be more than happy and welcome you at our conference, as well as our next seminar will be on the 22nd of October, which will be then about expat payroll and the process and compliance. I hope you enjoyed today's Coffee and Consulting, and I would be more than happy to meet you at one of the next either Coffee and Consulting event, which will be on the 4th of May, or on our conference, as well as at our seminar. I wish you a wonderful day and hope to see you soon. Thank you very much for your attention.